Nothing to see here. My latest nothing to see here video, I figured, why not? We got some time. It's after the first period between Montreal and Washington. No spoilers, promise. Not that there's much to really spoil there, though. Just, it's a good game. Sorry if that's a spoiler, but it's been a good game so far. So I wanted to talk about how the playoffs are going thus far. We're a week in. I figured, why not? So first off, Toronto, Ottawa. I'm not surprised Toronto's ahead, to be honest. Now, I did wear Ottawa for the preview, and with the previews, I definitely was tending to wear the jerseys of the teams that I kind of hoping would win. And in Ottawa's case, I thought it would be fun to see them go on a bit of a run. They've done it before, but yeah, the Battle of Ontario has been very one-sided for Toronto the whole way through, really. And it just looks like that's happening again. Tampa has to figure things out against Florida. Florida clearly ready for the playoffs. I don't know that I've ever seen a team do this before, where they've brought this many players back in from injury, and now they're going to get Ekblad back from suspension, and it's like they never missed any time. I don't know that I've ever seen that before. The one example would be last year, everybody got mad at Vegas about Mark Stone, but Stone was not effective in that first round, and that's part of the reason why Vegas didn't go any further. Washington, Montreal. It's been competitive. Washington has the experience advantage. You can kind of see that. It's always interesting to me watching the videos, the teams with the experience advantage. I had also kind of hoped that with the amount of parity we saw in the standings this year that would show up in the playoffs, but so far, not so much. Carolina, New Jersey, and Game 3 is about to get started in about, 15 minutes time here. Carolina, New Jersey's been entertaining, but Carolina's been controlling the game thus far. Vegas, Minnesota. My favorite surprise has been the Minnesota Wild. The Minnesota Wild's little foray into respectability, and I honestly believe that they don't get the amount of respect they should. I totally understand it. I'm a fan of the Canucks, so I get it. There are certain teams in the NHL that just don't get that same level of respect, whether it's from media or from fans or just in general. And so it'd be fun if Minnesota actually pulled off an upset in the first round. I'm always kind of disappointed when the top teams all get through. So if we have Toronto and Florida, Capitals and Canes, Vegas, and if it was Edmonton, and if it was, say, Winnipeg, and I don't know if there's one in the Central that I would say, And it's one of those things where I like to see matchups I haven't necessarily seen before, which, I mean, it's not like LA Edmonton hasn't been ridiculously entertaining. We're going to get Game 3 tonight there as well. I'm happy for Kuzmenko. Kuzmenko's become quite a story early in the playoffs. We've discussed that before. I at one point talked about having a John Druce Award, which of course I didn't end up revisiting. But I think I need to. The John Druce Award, which would be for that player that doesn't necessarily get a lot of attention during the regular season and goes on a ridiculous run in the postseason. Those are always fun, regardless of which team that player is from. And the Kings have maybe one of the first in that case. Chris Kontos would be one that could be discussed there for the LA Kings. Winnipeg St. Louis has kind of been an inversion of the 2019 series. When the games were in Winnipeg in 2019, St. Louis won, and vice versa. When the games were in St. Louis, Winnipeg won until that sixth game. Now the home teams held serve through the first three games, and I will not be surprised if St. Louis wins the fourth game at home as well. And so maybe the first team to blink at home ends up losing the series. Dallas and Colorado has fully shocked me. This is a series that I really felt like the Avs were set up for some success here, and the Stars looked really bad, going like ridiculously, and they weren't sitting anybody, because I've seen that argument of, well, this team was sitting players, and in some cases it may be true, but yeah, Dallas really wasn't sitting anybody. So I've enjoyed the playoffs a lot so far. One thing with not having Vancouver or Boston in there, it's a lot less stressful for me. It can be stressful, and when you've got multiple teams you're rooting for, you could be going from one game that's stressing you out to another. And I've had that over the years, where I watch a Boston game at 4 o'clock and then a Vancouver game at 7 o'clock, and I'm like, after all the stress of that Boston game, I don't know if I can go through this Vancouver game. So there's that. But yeah, it's been fun. I've talked about this before. The amount of days off that you have in between, and how much it pushes the Stanley Cup final back, is something that old guys like me aren't necessarily a huge fan of. But it's out there. It is what it is. I'm aware I'm not wearing a jersey, for anybody's going to bring that up. I figured, it's hot out. Well, okay, hot's relative. On the set right now, it's 22 degrees Celsius, which is toastier than it's been since maybe September. Because outside it's 23 right now. Celsius, that is Celsius, not Fahrenheit. Which is over 70 Fahrenheit for those who are American and watching. I think these playoffs have been very entertaining, though, and it is definitely always interesting to me when it gets to be playoff time, because what happens is that I go from a schedule where I'm getting up in the morning, I'm doing 3 or 4 videos during the day, and then I'm watching hockey all night, and then I'm doing the review at the end of the night. And then when the playoffs roll around, I actually cut back on videos like this, and videos, I just limit myself to one news video a day. So there's that. And for Carolina fans watching this, don't worry, I'll go through the whole Nikishin thing. We'll do a whole video on that. Maybe I'll just do a whole video on Nikishin and everything, and we'll just straighten out all the talking points with that. But because hey, I'm fair that way. People who've been fans of the channel long enough know that if there's enough of a debate in the comment section, all right, we'll do another video and we'll talk about it. So I don't have a problem with that. But I think this has been a highly entertaining playoffs. I don't even want to guess who I think is going to win the Stanley Cup. I will say this: Boston Pizza last year, they did the whole, hey, if you're a Canadian fan, you should cheer for all the Canadian teams. It doesn't work that way. It's never worked that way. I do not expect Edmonton fans to cheer for Vancouver. I do not expect Calgary fans to cheer for Vancouver, nor do I expect Vancouver fans to cheer for either of the Alberta teams either. It's just not. It's not usually how we're made. That's not. We don't say, well, our team didn't win, so it'd be nice if they went. No, it wouldn't. And I think part of it is probably the mocking factor. If they won, I'd never hear the end of it from my buddy there at work that cheers for the Oilers or the Kings or the Flames. That's something that was definitely a thing for me in the past. Now, if it was a coworker that was gonna, I guess my wife could taunt me about a hockey team, but she hasn't, and she never does. She never has. I would assume something was really wrong if she did. But these playoffs have been good. The one Boston Pizza thing, though, and we'll go back to that, is now they're doing a whole, we're going to plan the parade and the Cups Canada's, and we're going to get it back. And I'm like, oh, this is going to end in tears. Oh, this is so going to end in tears. This is going to end in tears. So it's one of those things that I understand where they're coming from, and it's from a good place. But the odds of a Canadian team winning the Stanley Cup, well, we've got 2 Canadian teams against each other here. So you're guaranteed a Canadian team in the second round. Outside of that, Winnipeg, St. Louis. St. Louis can pull off 4 wins in a row. They can. I'm not saying they're going to, but they can. The Kings right now up on the Oilers in the series, so we'll see how that goes. And Montreal's up against Washington. So I'm okay with the idea. The concept of a Canadian Stanley Cup, I'm not there, though. And I don't devote a lot of attention or time to it. Because in reality, whichever team wins the Stanley Cup usually has a lot of Canadian-born players. So I know the Stanley Cup's coming up here anyways. Those players will very often bring it to their hometowns. There's always good stories there. And so I don't pay it nearly as much attention as others might. Would it be nice if a Canadian team won a Stanley Cup? Sure. Am I banking on it? No. Am I going to start planning a parade? No. I don't really plan parades anyways. And if I did, it'd probably be like one of those Disney parades. Disneyland parades are the greatest. I miss those right now. Not that they were having parades while we were down there in February, and not that the parade that they're bringing back this spring is Magic Happens. What's up with that, Disneyland? Anyways, Magic Happens was the best parade. I must have recorded that like 3 or 4 times and kept putting it up on the Entertainment Guy channel, even knowing nobody's going to watch it, because I will. I will watch it. I will upload it, and every now and then I'll watch my taping of Magic Happens. But yeah, so there you go. One thing that Yvonne found me at the Abbotsford game the other night was they now have those shoulder sitters. So I've had those in the room here where I have like shoulder sitters I got at Disney. Well, now they have one with Finn. So if they start bringing those out for all the mascots in the NHL, where you have like a magnet that you put inside your shirt on the shoulder, and then the magnet on the figure that sits on your shoulder, and it's sitting there. They bring those out for all the teams. I might need some other mascots. I think it's a really funny idea to have those for videos on a team if things aren't going all that well. Just to have just the mascot on your, just looks a little bit goofy. I've got enough of the neck chains that I'm pretty happy with the neck chains that I have too, because those look ridiculous. So I'll be using those at some point soon too. So I just wanted to just check in, say hi to everybody, and just yeah, I wanted to do this today. I had the idea of going over like the first week of the playoffs in just a general term, and I'll do this again next Friday. I would imagine I'll have the time, depending on whether or not you find people on the internet would want to see that. So thank you guys so much for all your support as always, and hopefully tonight's games go well, and we don't see suspensions and stuff coming out of anything that happens tonight. So fingers crossed on that. But thank you guys for all your support. Like I said at the start, nothing to see here. And yeah, I will talk to you again soon.